My name is Liz Fisher. I'm CEO of Amplifier. Amplifier works to ignite giving in the Jewish community, and we have a network of giving circles inspired by Jewish values.
Hi, I'm Marcia Morgan with the Community Investment Network. I'm the chair of the board of directors. CIN is a national network of giving circles impacting African American and communities of color. And so Liz and I are so excited to join you today because we are discussing giving beyond the dollar. So Liz, would you like to share how Amplifier gives beyond the dollar?
Sure, Marcia. It's fun to be here with you talking about this. So we all think about giving circles as financial giving, and that obviously is a huge part of it. But there are also lots of other ways that giving circles and members of giving circles give to their communities. Lots of folks talk about the giving components of time, talent, and treasure. Treasure being the dollars, and talent being your skills, and time obviously being your time. And I'd say that our giving circles do those three things as well. And in addition, we often talk about ties, right? Which is how members of our giving circles can use their networks to connect the organizations with each other or connect them to other people who can be involved. How do you think about giving beyond the dollars, Marcia?
So I think that one of the ways that within CIN is really embedded in the fabric of who we are as a network. And so, from the very beginning when the network was started, and that was really one of the ways that we could change people and how they saw themselves as philanthropists. So in 2004, when we were starting, it's always been the premise of understanding that you're leveraging all of your resources. And so those resources are your time, your talent, and your treasure. But it's interesting that as we've grown, one of the things we've understood is that it's so important to share your testimony. And so that means amplifying or communicating what you're doing so that you can help inspire others to do similar good work in their local communities. And it's also a great way for you to model what you're doing for other giving circles that are that are currently existing or for people that are thinking about starting giving circles.
That's great. And do you, how do you encourage people to go about that testimony piece? Like, where are good places for them to tell their stories, and what's a good way to do that?
Right. So it's interesting because testimony is definitely storytelling. So if you think of the age that we live in, obviously social media is very important. We have some giving circles that have documentaries or that have actually kind of documented and filmed some of the work that they're doing. So obviously you can use digital platforms to continue to share that message, infographics, newsletters, but even beyond just doing, using it as a way of communication and using those various media tools for communicating to others. There is also something about sharing a story in an educational piece. So whether it's hosting a workshop in your community or having an educational forum, that's very important. We actually have signature programs that have within it components of the storytelling piece that help educate college students and foundation professionals and community advocates that motivate or share our Giving Circle stories with them so that they can be inspired to understand that there really is no limit to how you give.
Exciting. We also have so many education pieces embedded in the work that we do, and we really encourage the giving circles we work with both to educate themselves and learn about the issue areas that they're working on, and then also to do to think about the work that they're doing through an education, lens, like to talk about to talk about it in a way that teaches other people. And they often do educational events and those kinds of things. So I think it's something that's really shared. And I see a lot, people get so excited about causes or organizations, they can't help themselves because they want everyone to know and understand better what's happening on those issues.
Yeah, and I think similar with our network, one of the things is we really encourage our circles to understand, what's going on in their communities before making a grant award, because we want our circles to be strategic and intentional about where they're giving their dollars, because it's important, even though you're in the community, you may think you know everything that's going on in the community, but research and education really allows you to dive deep and gain a good understanding. And so that means not only, Googling information, but it also means getting down in the community and talking to folks who are actively and involved in those areas. So if you're interested in understanding the public education system in your area, then you need to talk to your principals, your students, teachers, parents, superintendent, elected officials. What are their thoughts? Understand that. And so obviously for us, we don't necessarily stress that it's a quick education process, but we do want our circles to be informed, because it's important with the dollars and resources that they're leveraging, that they're creating the change that they want to see.
Yeah. And on the talent piece, I know that we've seen lots of people who are involved with giving circles go on to learn about an organization, maybe serve on the board of that organization, become an individual donor to that organization. And it's something we do really encourage when folks get connected with a grantee that they really like to get more involved. Is that something you also see?
Yes, so we've seen that multiple times, and I think that's the beauty of the work, and that comes from the education piece, because especially if that person that's now serving on that board or volunteering was not familiar with the organization before they learned about it, then that's the beauty of that testimony piece, of having that organization share with your members about the good work that they're doing. But we really encourage that, because a lot of the organizations that we may grant dollars to may be small and limited in the resources that they have and capacity and regarding the work that they want to do. And so having that extra volunteer, that person with connections and influence on their board really can be a game changer, or just being able to tap into the talent of that giving circle as a resource, it can make a huge impact beyond the dollars that were granted to the organization.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm wondering from your perspective, as you think of ways, have you seen some unique things that have, evolved maybe from some of those ties or those connections or giving beyond the dollars?
Yeah, I mean, I think of a few things. I mean, one thing for sure is that we see lots of our giving circles doing some kinds of hands-on volunteering, and thinking about ways that they can connect with each other and go out and serve. So if that's, and lots of times they get, their families and friends involved in that as well, right? So if that's, working at a local food pantry, or going out to read to seniors, or those kinds of things, just like getting more connected inside the community in a human-to-human way.
Right.
And I think also, something that you and I have both been involved in that's really connected to some of the ties we've established through this work is creating ways for people to do little shorter versions of giving circles, right? So we have a thing called the pop-up giving circle, which is an hour-and-a-half long experience that we learned from an organization called Slingshot that we have a real close tie with, which is a kind of a giving collaborative of funders in their 20s and 30s. And I know that you also have built something kind of similar to that, a short-term experience for people to connect with each other.
Right, we have. And so we've developed Love in Action, which is modeled after the Pop-Up Giving Circle experience that you all have. And so for us, what we were able to do was take that model, and then, because your circle, your network is inspired by Jewish values. And so even within the context of CIN, we do have values as a network, that are just embedded in our fabric. And so we were able to model that experience for our giving circles, and provide that as another way for them to do philanthropic education, team building, collaboration in the community. So we have been very excited, about that, because if we were not on this project together, we may not have been able to adapt that experience for our network. And I think it speaks to that testimony piece about best practice sharing and also what you can learn and leverage from other circles. And so that's the beauty of Philanthropy Together, because you'll make those connections and you can learn from one another. And so you can take what may work from your circle's perspective and add value, whether it's a circle or a network. So we are very excited because when we have hosted the Love in Action exercises, there may be an initial dollar amount that's granted to an organization, but everyone's always so inspired by the exercise that dollar amount always grows. And so that's the beauty of having those types of opportunities for folks just to connect and learn about organizations and have the opportunity to understand what giving is all about.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that it's really the exciting thing about Giving Circles and about Philanthropy Together and us learning all together is this real opportunity to just learn from each other and expand what we're all doing. And I think that there's this real piece of Giving Circles that's just about connection, right? And it's connection with the folks inside, but it's also connection with other people doing similar work, which is why I think it's great for Amplifier, and we're really excited to be part of Philanthropy Together. And I think it's for everyone who's starting on a Giving Circle journey, it's like a really exciting moment of building connections.
Right. So with what we've shared today, is there like a piece of advice you would give to anyone that's embarking on developing a Giving Circle?
I guess, in relation to this conversation, what I would say is think about your Giving Circle as an extension of things you're doing in your life, not kind of in addition to other things you're doing in your life, right? So if you are connected, learn from CIN and give your testimony to your friends and family and neighbors about what you're doing. And if you have a volunteer cause you really care about, see if you can bring folks from your Giving Circle there. It's another thing. I guess my biggest piece of advice is think about it as another tool in your toolbox for making a difference in your community.
Right.
How about
you? I definitely agree with you. I think it's also important, for folks to, especially as we talk about, starting and developing a Giving Circle, I always say, it's about quality, it's not about quantity. And so when we think of impact, don't think of it based on a dollar amount. Think of it as you leveraging all of your resources. It's so important to put it put a dollar amount there. Your time is money. So for our circles, we encourage them, when they report to us about the number of hours they've served in their community, we put a dollar amount on that, because it's important, because it's not only that you've made a grant award of $5,000. My gosh, you may have volunteered to a point where that's a $10,000 value for your community. So just think of impact as in a very holistic way, because all of it is value, because otherwise, and that's really what creates change. So you're leveraging all of those resources to create change. So it takes your time, your talent, your treasure, your testimony, and your ties in order to create the change you want to see.
Awesome. Thank you. I think that's a great wrap up. It's fun to talk to you, and we're excited to continue the conversations in Philanthropy Together.
Right. So if you have any questions after you've heard this video, please reach out to Philanthropy Together, and Liz and I are more than welcome to share more information with you.